McGill University is asking Montreal police to help remove a protest encampment set up by pro-Palestinian activists on campus today.
For the latest on the situation, let's go live to CTV Montreal's Matt Grillo. Matt, let's start off with you just kind of setting the scene for us. What is it like on campus right now?
Well, it's been pretty well, peaceful and quiet, at least this morning. I'll step aside here for a second to give you guys an idea of, what we've been seeing throughout the morning. They just actually quieted down. There were some chants, some pro-Palestinian chants going on. So basically, you see some supporters here standing in front, or mostly supporters at least, and then behind them is this fence that's been set up now for a few days. And within that is really the encampment of what's going on here. When we talk about the encampment, that's it. There's about 50 tents, maybe 60, 65 tents or so set up there. We can't get access to it. It's blocked off. They won't let the media in past those gates there. And this is pretty much where everything's been going on. This is kind of, I guess, a lower field on McGill's campus, right by what's called the Roddick Gates, right at the corner of Sherbrooke and McGill College, and really the heart of downtown Montreal. And this is where it's happening here. Now, keep in mind, this campus, McGill says this campus is private land. So that's why, the university is trying to put an end to this encampment. McGill says it's against school policy and it's against the law as well. Now, McGill has said that they've tried to negotiate with the encampment, but nothing seems to really be working. They're at an impasse. They've informed the people in the encampment that what they're doing is against school policy and against the law, and that they should no longer be here, but it doesn't seem to be working. They've essentially warned the protesters here that they should be leaving. Very few have left, according to McGill. So at this point, without much else the university could do, they've resorted to the help of Montreal police. So Montreal police have been informed that McGill essentially needs their services and needs their help. So, and we've been in contact with Montreal police this morning. They're aware of this request from McGill. They're keeping an eye on the situation, and Montreal police, it's unclear exactly what they're going to do and when they would do anything for this encampment, to dismantle this encampment. It's not clear at all at this point. We don't have a lot of details from police, but they have said that they want a peaceful resolution to all of this.
Okay, and Matt, of course, we're seeing similar scenarios play out in the U.S., and everybody's watching that very closely. Some student protesters say they're hoping McGill will divest from Israel. What is the university saying about that?
It hasn't been very clear at this point. The protesters here are claiming that McGill has about $20 million in various companies that support Israel. We haven't heard a whole lot recently, at least from McGill, on that matter. They've really focused their statements a lot on this encampment and trying to have this encampment dismantled, while also trying to balance freedom of expression and freedom of speech. So it is, of course, a little bit of a delicate situation and has been over the last few days, but we haven't heard a whole lot from the university when it comes to divestment. But that is the #1 demand of these protesters. They want the university to divest from companies that support Israel. So, and the protesters have been very clear. They're not planning on going anywhere, regardless of what happens, until that demand is met. So it'll be really interesting to see how everything plays out throughout the afternoon and into the evening. Keep in mind, there is an injunction, a provisional injunction that's going to be debated at the Montreal courthouse by a lawyer, and essentially that injunction, if successful, could potentially lead to the dismantlement of this encampment. We're not sure exactly all those details, but it's really to get this encampment shut down. So it's an injunction against the encampment and against McGill. And that's going to play out at about 2:30 at the Montreal courthouse. So that's something we're keeping an eye on as well.
Matt, also, some of the college campuses in the States, some schools have been suspending some of the student protesters. Has there been any talk about that? Are the protesters worried about that? Is this a mix of, students as well as outsiders who are protesting and a part of this encampment?
We haven't necessarily asked, or I haven't necessarily asked the protesters specifically what their concerns are and what, repercussions do they worry about. Keep in mind, from what we know, the majority of people in the encampment, at least from what McGill is telling us, are not members of the McGill community. They've repeated that message over and over again. Now, there are some McGill students here. There are some McGill students supporting the encampment as well. We even spoke to a McGill professor earlier this morning. So, but there is concern, no doubt, that police now are potentially getting involved and that there's a debate going on at the Montreal courthouse of a potential injunction. There's concern there, no doubt about that. We spoke with people about that. They're worried about it. And, you know, they're concerned about how this is going to develop. They're worried that they feel as though they've been protesting peacefully and that it could potentially escalate, you know, if police get involved. There's a major concern of that on behalf of the protesters here. They are worried about that.
Okay, hopefully we'll be able to check back in with you this afternoon to hear how those hearings went. CTV Montreal's Matt Grillo live from the campus of McGill University. Thank you.
Thanks so much.